When Geraldine and I tell our girls about growing up in the 80s and 90s, it's like talking about a whole different planet.
We used to play outside till the streetlights came on.
We drank straight out of the water hose, ran everywhere, explored, got lost, got hurt, busted our knees, our heads, and our butts. Nobody knew where we were, what we were doing, or who we were with.
I'm Chris Jones. I'm a rocket scientist, a minister, and a girl dad. And I have a theory about why childhood and everything else feels different now. Because gravity hasn't changed, but the price of a trip to the hospital has.
Blue jeans, Jordans, gas, groceries, and health insurance.
Everything is more expensive, and it's scaring us out of risk, innovation, and the joy of life itself. It was more affordable to fall, to fail, to get back up. And our parents trusted America enough to let us run free. Bankruptcy was for gamblers and crooked real estate developers, not middle-class families, not teachers, not cancer patients.
I'm running for Congress because the fall of the American working class wasn't an accident. It was a political decision. Meet my congressman, French Hill, the most powerful banker in America.
He's my opponent, but he's your problem too. He chairs the Financial Services Committee and fights anything that looks like consumer protection. The law to limit overdraft fees to $5.
This is a change that could save American households $5 billion in overdraft charges every year.
French Hill killed it. Yep, they even found a way to make being broke more expensive.
If there's anybody who's gotta go, it's him. I'm blessed. I studied hard, earned 2 degrees from Morehouse College, then 2 masters and a PhD from MIT. I married my best friend, who's a combat veteran and an ER doctor. God gave us 3 beautiful daughters, and along that journey, I earned the votes of 319,000 Arkansans who believe we deserve better. I have good news for you. You can still go outside till the streetlights come on. We call it organizing. Just you and a few friends fighting for your freedom, standing up for each other. We have 12 months to win this election.
We have a poll that makes this a 1-point race and a grassroots organization that has been growing for 3.5 years.
This district is full of fighters. We're doing the hard work, and we need you to join us.
It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. Now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Hey everybody, it's showtime. I hope you had a great weekend. What's happening? All right, is it Virgos? Virgos, stand up. Yes, it's your time to shine. Hey, it's Monday evening here on the East Coast in the Carolinas, the beautiful Charleston Metro, South Carolina. Shout out to everybody all across, really global, because the cool thing about the YouTube channel, and YouTube is global. So, Monday through Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 Central Time, 4:30 p.m. on the West Coast. All right, everybody at the top of the show, I need everybody to do me a solid, do me a big favor right now. I need you to click on the thumbs up button, all right? Hook a brother up, hook me up like some good bootleg cable. Bam, bam, thumbs up, like, then click on the share. When the show is over, click on that button, share, and click on the subscribe button. Tell everybody, everybody to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, you can copy and paste the link. Copy and paste it everywhere. You can copy and paste the link in a text message, in an email. You can copy and paste the link to your forehead, to your butt cheeks, to your belly button, all over your body. All over my body. Sound like a Keith Sweat song. My body, my body. So, it's all good. I appreciate it. So once again, click on the thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, or some say subscribe, share, and like those buttons. We got to let YouTube know what it is. We got to rework, re-engineer, because the way they got these algorithms, which are just a set of instructions. That's what an algorithm is. It's something that's programmed. Anyway, so much for the science class, but it's real simple. But we have nefarious actors that control these platforms, so we got to reverse engineer it, or as we say in the culture, we got to remix that thing. We got to remix that thing, right? Tonight, my guest he will be, as a matter of fact, because on this show, one of the rules of my grandmother, Jean Jones, who I'm named after, we name it and claim it. She said, Jeannie, she said, name it and claim it. speak it into existence. So the next lieutenant governor of the great state of South Carolina, my good friend Sam Skardon, he is the running mate with Dr. Jermaine Johnson, who's going to be our next governor here in the state of South Carolina, who, by the way, is celebrating his anniversary. I don't know what year, but we'll find out when Mr. Skardon comes on. Happy anniversary to Dr. and Dr. Johnson. Dr. Jermaine Johnson, Dr. Evan Johnson, or Dr. Evan Johnson, and Dr. Jermaine Johnson. Happy anniversary. As a matter of fact, Sam Skardon is pinch hitting like Barry Bonds coming off the bench back in the day. He is pinch hitting for Dr. Jermaine Johnson, who is actually going to be my guest today, but you got to see him early. You got to see Dr. Johnson, I think that was Thursday? Oh, no, Wednesday. Last week. The episode is right here. It was last Wednesday night, because last Thursday we had Judge Tamara Curry running for probate judge here in Charleston County, South Carolina. So happy anniversary to Dr. and Dr. Johnson, the Doctors Johnson. Sounds like an R&B group, the Brothers Johnson back in the day. Remember Strawberry Letter 22? Actually, the title was Strawberry Letter 23. Anyway, that was the Brothers Johnsons. So we got the Doctors Johnsons celebrating their anniversary today. All right, speaking of celebrating things, happy birthday, Virgos. Today is Monday, August 24th. If it is your birthday, like I said, Virgos, stand up. Dave Chappelle, funny brother, my man. Dave Chappelle is 53 today, one of the great directors of this era and any era. I'm a big fan of hers. I think probably her favorite movie for me as a director, Selma, Ava DuVernay. Incredible movie, talking about just what happened in Selma, in the Edmund Pettus Bridge and everything that happened with civil rights leaders like John Lewis, who has a connection to tonight's episode that you will find out in a few minutes. NBA legend, Pro Basketball Hall of Famer, Reggie Miller, one of the greatest three-point shooters of all times, and was a Knick killer till this year. The Knicks reversed they almost got cursed. They got cursed. The curse of Orange Hitler got them that one game. I was like, boy, okay, Mr. Dolan, I know that's your man, but you gonna mess around and mess this thing up. And Knicks fans was like, hey, he gonna have to stay down in Florida, D.C., but what y'all not gonna do, 53 years of waiting, you not gonna let this dude ruin this for us. So the Knicks fans was like, so he didn't show up again, and the Knicks have won their first NBA championship in 53 years. So Reggie Miller, Indiana Pacer, his whole career, 18 years. Reggie Miller, 61 today. Happy heavenly birthday. Sunday, yesterday, if you're watching me live, one Kobe Bean Bryant would have been 48 on Sunday. He was gone way, way too soon. Also gone way too soon, an actor who had a good life. He lived to be 70. That's young nowadays, 70. Michael Wright, now one of my favorite movies, The Five Heartbeats, which really was a story about a real R&B group called the Dells from Harvey, Illinois. Harvey is a south suburb of Chicago. So this movie was based on the Dells, the actual group, and Michael Wright played the legendary character. Now, if you look at like what they call IDBM, like that's something, a site to where you can like find out who the actors and actresses in the movie and what's the name of their characters. So the IDBM called him, he was Eddie King Jr. But Eddie King didn't call himself and his friends, he wasn't Eddie King Jr. He was Eddie King! Eddie King! The legendary Eddie King Jr. from the Five Heartbeats, the legendary lead singer. And he also played Wesley Snipes' brother in a movie. It wasn't it didn't do real big at the box office. One of my favorites. Movie called Sugar Hill. Michael Wright, he died, he's 70. He was 70 years old, so rest in power to Mr. Michael Wright. All right, before I bring my guest on, you've always heard me talk about karma, and karma's real. And it's, you can tie it in, connect it with religion. I wouldn't. spirituality. Karma is energy, and we all have energy. Our spirit is energy. It's the energy that we all send out into the universe. It's the energy that when some people walk into a room, the room lights up. Some people just make you smile. They walk in and they just brighten your day. It's like they walk in and a light switch comes on and anxiety and stress levels reduce, and they just, you just feel lighter and you feel happy and they make you smile. And then some people, they have a whole different energy. They have a different spirit. They have the spirit to where they can walk in a room, even before they get in the room gets dark. It's like a total solar eclipse. And they walk in the room and the anxiety and the tension and the stress level shoots up and you can just feel it. Like licking your finger and sticking it into an AC outlet in the wall. You're like, just the energy, the spirit is just bad energy, negative. But karma is real. I learned that as a little boy. So always be very careful how you treat people, because the energy that you send out into the universe, I guarantee you, as Conway Jones, my grandfather, used to say, just keep living. The energy that you send out into the universe, it will find its way back to you. Now, in July of 2024, Sonia Massey, 36-year-old woman, African-American woman in Illinois, was in her house minding her business. She thought that she heard somebody trying to break in her home. The woman was unarmed. She had a pot of supposedly hot water on the stove that she never touched. Then Sean Grayson, former Illinois sheriff's deputy, came to the house. Now remember, Sonia Massey called the police because she was afraid there may be an intruder or potential intruder. Well, Sean Grayson came to Sonia Massey's house. She called the police to protect her. And it turned out that Sean Grayson shot and killed Sonia Massey in her own home. Shot and killed her. Well, Sean Massey was found guilty of killing Sonia Massey. He was in jail, and he died in prison. He was only 32. He died from colon cancer. Now, even though Sean Grayson didn't show Sonia Massey compassion and grace and humanity, I was raised to always show people, to the best of your ability, compassion, grace, and empathy. Now, like I said, even though Sean Grayson didn't show Sonia Massey any of that, any compassion, any empathy, any grace, any humanity. Sean Grayson, I'm sure, has a family, and I extend grace and humanity, compassion to that family, to the family. But I will close by once again reminding everybody, be very, very careful how you treat people. Be very careful the energy that you send out into the world, good or bad, because that energy is yours. And it will eventually, I promise, it will always return to its original source. It will always find its way back to you, or you will catch up with it. You two, your karma and you will eventually come together. So just be very careful how you treat people. My next guest, he's been treating people wonderful for years. He is Jermaine Johnson, Dr. Jermaine Johnson's running mate to be Jermaine Johnson's lieutenant governor. He's got an incredible resume, repping James Island, South Carolina. He has done so many things, incredible things, including serving as a legislative aide to the iconic, legendary U.S. Congressman John Lewis. I told you there was going to be a tie back into John Lewis. So without any further delay, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome on the screen, my dear friend, husband, father, just a good guy, good dude, Brother Sam Skardon, to the show. Hello, Sam. Welcome, man.
Gino, thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Hey, listen, we have been trying to put this thing together. So I did it early, but I guess we do it together. I know you've already reached out to him, and I'm sure you talked to him. So I'm sure you would. If not, uh, happy anniversary to the Doctors
Yes.
Johnson,
Happy anniversary to the Doctors Johnson. Absolutely.
Dr. Jermaine Johnson and his beautiful wife, Dr. Evan Johnson. Do you know how many years?
I think it's 14.
14.
I think it's 14.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is great. I love that. So happy anniversary. And like I said, you stepped in, pinch hit like Barry Bonds back in the day.
Yeah, you
73
said,
homers
so you
out.
said that in the monologue, and actually, I have a story about that.
Well, let's hear it. You got to share that
Yeah,
with
so I,
me.
I grew up playing baseball. I'm a huge baseball fan. 14 years old, 2002. I go out with some family to San Francisco, and we catch a game at what was their new stadium then. Barry Bonds was coming off his 73 home run season. So I'm excited. 14 years old, I get to go see a game in a new stadium of Barry Bonds' team. Let's go see some home runs. Get there, Bonds in the starting lineup. We watch the game. We still have a good time. It's beautiful. It is really one of the best stadiums in America. Um, Ninth inning, Giants are down 1, 2 outs. They send Bonds up to pinch hit. He strikes out on 3 pitches. And that only happened 20 times in his whole career. If you strike out on 3 pitches. So more rare than a perfect game, more rare than a no-hitter, more rare than anything. I got to see Barry Bonds strike out on 3 pitches.
Wow. I don't know.
Yeah.
If Barry knew that, he'd be like, hey, this kid jinxed me, whatever. Because
I know, right?
that was very rare for him, especially that year and the year earlier,
Of
2001.
course, because no one was throwing him strikes at all.
Yeah, and
Not
he
three in a
rarely
row.
struck. As a matter of fact, people wouldn't even pitch to him.
Right.
I've seen him, especially well, both years, 2001 and 2002. I've seen many games where the bases were loaded, and the manager was like, "Walk him. I don't
Walk
care. Rather give her four. Rather give her one than four."
Exactly.
Yes, he was. It was an incredible stretch. That was an interesting story, man. All right. So speaking of stories, if you don't mind, Sam Skardon, give us your origin story. We know you love baseball. Ironically, I played baseball. I had a chance to play pro baseball and pro football. I digress. This conversation's not about me, but when you said that, I'm like, well, we got a lot in common. But give us your
Yeah.
origin story and what led you to, from everything along with being a legislative aide to John Lewis. And I know there's a very personal connection in your family to Representative John Lewis, and I'll let you share that. But give us your origin story, man, and what led you to this point to going to be our next lieutenant governor on this incredible ticket with Dr. Jermaine Johnson.
Sure. So I grew up here in the Low Country, grew up in Charleston, went through our public schools here, and then went to college over in Atlanta, Georgia at Emory University. And I was always a history fan. Took a class on civil rights history, and our professor assigned John Lewis's autobiography, Walking with the Wind. And I was excited. I read it, wrote my final paper on it, and my professor thought it was a good paper. So she said, you should. He's our congressman here in Atlanta. Why don't you reach out to him and see if you can do an internship with him this summer? So I wrote him a letter, applied for an internship, and I was turned down. And the next summer, that was summer after my sophomore year. Summer after my junior year, I wrote again and I applied again. And they said, well, we almost never have someone we turn down apply again. So you must really want to do this. So that's how they hired me into an internship, and then made some good connections there. They hired me into a full-time job after I graduated. So that's how I had the honor of starting my time with Congressman Lewis.
Wow. So
I worked as a go ahead.
No, finish your thought. I just wanted to follow up with a couple questions.
Sure. So worked as a legislative aide with him, 3 years as an aide, and then that year as an intern. And then, unfortunately, it was during kind of some of what we thought was the peak of division in Washington. The Tea Party had just taken over Congress. We went from doing big ideas like healthcare reform and saving the American economy after the financial collapse in 2008. All of a sudden, we were having fights just to keep the government open. All of Capitol Hill was working overtime just to make sure Social Security checks still went out and government paid its debts. It was a unfortunately frustrating time to be there. so I took the opportunity to step back and think, well, maybe the better way to make a difference is being on the business side of things rather than the political side of things. So went over to business school at Georgetown University, met my lovely wife, Leslie, and I'd say whatever we do in this campaign, win or lose, whatever success we have in a Johnson-Skardon administration, the best thing I will have ever done for South Carolina is convince my classmate Leslie Ogden to move back to Charleston with me after we graduated. She is now Leslie Skardon and doing great things in South Carolina herself.
I love
So
it. I
yeah,
love
there
it.
is no greater contribution I can make to our state than bringing her here.
Well, that's
But I
beautiful.
use that background, policy plus business, and obviously a strong sense of social justice from Congressman Lewis. And
Could I pause you
started
there for a
working.
second, Sam? Just because I don't want to bury the lead, and I don't want to rush by this because
Yeah,
I can't even express to you the reverence and the gratitude, the admiration that I have, and I know along with millions of other people have for Representative John Lewis, who was a young man in his 20s when he really got
was.
active with the civil rights movement. Um, and of course, we talk about the movie Selma. Of course, that's the plot is the whole situation with the Edmund Pettus Bridge and the marching for for civil rights and voting rights, and just that violence on on a bloody Sunday and everything, but not giving up. So John Lewis is held in such high regard. But you got a chance to really meet the man, not just as a lawmaker, but just as a person. And just if you don't mind, just kind of give us some insight. 'Cause he just seemed like everywhere I've had the honor just to meet him, just briefly, at different events. I think maybe once, but he just seemed to have a spirit of compassion and generosity and caring for humanity. Uh, so how accurate was that read of just the spirit that I picked up of the man? I'm pretty sure, but I'd just love to hear some of your stories.
Sure. So first of all, he's one of the rare ones, and I will say Jermaine is too. They're the same person off the stage and off the camera that they are on the stage and on the camera. I mean, the decency you saw is real and genuine. That is the person he was. So in addition to having gotten to spend time and have a personal relationship with one of the great leaders in American history, I also had the validation that he was the person that he was believed to be, and the person he presented publicly was the person he was privately too. It was funny. One of my jobs, I started with him. I mentioned when I was very young, at 22 years old. So I kind of had to go for a job in the office. I had all the loose ends. So I also answered the phones as one of my jobs. And on Monday mornings, even if I hadn't talked to Congressman all weekend, I knew my first hour on Monday mornings, I was going to learn what he had done all weekend before he got to the office, because he used to give out our office phone number to everyone he met. Everyone he met. And so I knew that he'd gone to the movies Friday night. I knew what restaurant he and his wife had dinner at beforehand. I knew what grocery store he went to on Saturday morning. I knew what mall he went to on Saturday afternoon, because people would just call in all morning and say, "Hey, I saw a congressman at this restaurant," or he was at the movie theater sitting next to me over here. And I could always string together his entire weekend based on all the people that he interacted with at every step of the way. And I thought that was just very revealing, that no matter where he was, even if he was with his wife at dinner, or if he was trying to watch a movie, trying to shop for shoes, whatever it was, trying to catch a flight, he always had time to stop and talk to people. And they usually had long conversations. I mean, they'd say, "I told him that we had an issue with the stop sign around the corner in my neighborhood, and we tried to get it fixed last year." And they go into all this detail that he had given them time for, because he gave everyone not just 20 seconds, he gave everyone 20 minutes sometimes. And I think that was reflective of the fact that he was never too big or too famous to try to help everyone with their problems. And that always made a big impact on me.
What was the best lesson, the most important lesson that you learned from Congressman Lewis, personally as a man, and as a public servant.
Yeah. I think it's a determination to make a difference and a relentlessness to continue working and marching and fighting for what you believe in, no matter how long the odds are or how impossible the barriers may seem. I tell this story a lot on the campaign trail, but honestly, there's about a dozen you could pick from that he can point to. Um, I, I always, one of my favorite features he had in his office was a framed library card. Most people don't frame their library cards, but he framed his because in 1956, he grew up in Troy, Alabama, rural, well, he would say the suburbs of Troy, farm outside of Troy. He went to go check out a book when he was 16 years old from the Troy Public Library and was told that he couldn't take a book home because you needed a library card to check books out. They didn't issue library cards to black children. And I mean, imagine how impossible that barrier must seem to tell a 16-year-old that the world is stacked against them in that way. How easy it would be to accept defeat, how easy it would be to just get mad and angry and go home and never come out of your shell. But Congressman Lewis didn't do that. He got involved in the civil rights movement. He led the sit-ins in Nashville. He became a freedom rider. He spoke at the March on Washington. He was the youngest speaker there, which your anniversary is this week. You mentioned you got to mention the March on Washington 63 years ago this Friday. But he spoke at the March on Washington. He registered voters in Mississippi Freedom Summer. He led the Bloody Sunday March in Selma over the Pettus Bridge and became a member of Congress. 42 years later, he wrote that book, Walking with the Wind, his autobiography. And that library in Troy, Alabama invites him back for a book signing. And they gave him a framed library card. And I always thought that was, and then he, of course, kept it in his office in the United States Capitol. So I always thought, to me, that was what a perfect little, small little thing that just encapsulates not only all the progress he had seen in his life, but all the work that he did to make that progress a reality. So I take that as inspiration that, you know, all the impossible barriers we're talking about in our campaign, and we'll get to the issues in a minute, but I want South Carolina to have great public schools. I want us to have living wages and affordable costs of living. I mean, things that this state really has never had. And that's what we're campaigning on. And it might seem far-fetched, it might seem impossible, but things like that framed library card are what keep me believing that it's worth fighting for and that someday we can make it happen.
Yeah, I want you to, perfect segue, because I was going to ask you we see that Congressman Lewis had a huge influence on you as a person and as a public servant, and in terms of policy. I'm sure, well, as a matter of fact, he was always advocating for, you know, things like healthcare and people being able to afford, you know, to make a living wage, a real fair living wage, not $7.25 an hour, which is crazy. People's civil rights, human rights, things of that nature, voting rights. And so let's bring it to 2026 in terms of the policies, some important policies. Of course, now affordability is something that stares everybody in the face. The minute you go to the gas station and it says $5 a gallon, or you go to the grocery store and the price of everything has gone up, and you've got housing is unaffordable. I've got a 24-year-old daughter. I mean, we got many Gen Zers and even some millennials that can't even afford to move out of the house. We got $100,000, $120,000, $150,000 in student loan debt, and just trying to find a job. So just who feel like the system has let them down. Really, you know, of course, this regime, they have nothing good to say, but then they look at Democrats sideways because they feel that, okay, that they hadn't done enough. So I want you to segue and talk about some of the policies that the Johnson-Skardon administration, the priorities. What are the biggest priorities for the administration?
Sure. Well, you hit on the economy first. I mean, our state's economy has a problem on both sides. One, people don't make enough money here. They have to work multiple jobs just to keep a roof over their head. And then we can't afford the cost of living. So we got an income problem and an expense problem. I was mentioning I have a business degree, and it's that simple. We sometimes overcomplicate it, but South Carolinians aren't making enough money. You mentioned we don't have a state minimum wage. We use the federal one, $7.25 an hour. But I think actually politicians do a bad job when we reduce it to an hourly rate. We should talk about it as an annual rate. Because do you know what $7.25 an hour is?
What, about 15,000 a year?
If you work 50 weeks a year, 40 hours a week, I think you working 40-hour week, 50 weeks a year. That's a hardworking person and a hardworking family, $15,000 a year.
That's criminal.
They're in a city or town or suburb, or there is nowhere in South Carolina you can afford to live for $15,000 a year. Not to mention support a family on $15,000 a year. I think we should reframe it to talk about the annual what $7.25 an hour is for someone who is working full time.
I love that. Yes,
because I think way too we'll talk about the new South Carolina. The way to frame what we want to do here is a new South Carolina. It means we're also running against an old South Carolina that has driven me crazy my whole life for a million reasons. I mean, these Republicans have run the state unchecked for 24 years. They haven't done anything for schools. They haven't done anything to address costs of living or increase wages. We still don't have the minimum wage we talked about. And worse than that, I mean, I don't think you have to go very far in their messaging to hear that the implication that poor people are somehow lazy. They're not. The vast majority of South Carolinians in poverty have jobs, or they're children of people who
or
have
two.
Jobs. Yeah.
Some cases.
And so, we got to give hardworking people in South Carolina a chance to get ahead. And the cost of living hurt families all the way up and down the economic spectrum. We have, first of all, we need to expand health insurance coverage in the state. We can do that by expanding Medicaid, which we're one of the last states that hadn't done it. That's an important way to get thousands of South Carolinians covered for health insurance. And you want to talk about an economic issue. One of the biggest barriers to entrepreneurship is healthcare coverage. You want people to start their own business. You want someone to go from a $7.25 an hour job washing dishes to actually owning a restaurant. You got to make sure they have healthcare coverage to do it. So we haven't done anything on the cost side, but you can go up the spectrum. I mean, we can talk about people making the federal minimum wage here. We also talk about a lot of hardworking families that can afford to buy a home, but the homeowners premiums are still going up 20%. Your health insurance premiums are still going up, and insurance companies are wrongfully denying you coverage. We have twin boys here, and you might hear them in the background. They're being a little loud tonight. We have twin 4-year-old boys, and for one of their checkups, these are twins. They're identical twins. They have the same DNA. They're on the same health insurance plan. For their 3-year-old checkup, the insurance company denied coverage for one of them and granted coverage to the other. During my wife's pregnancy, twins, is considered a high-risk pregnancy. The doctor ordered 6 ultrasounds. The insurance company would only cover 3 of them. I mean, fortunately, we are a well-off family. We're not the top of this, highest percentage of this economy that seems to be doing well right now. But we're well off. We own our home. We have health insurance. And we're still getting multi-thousand-dollar bills a year wrongfully from our insurance companies. Our homeowners insurance premiums are still going through the roof. And that's the story of South Carolina families, is that, again, I think a flaw that we see in our politics a lot is people reduce these issues to just the hardest working, most struggling families. And the reality is, for the vast majority of South Carolina families are struggling with childcare costs. They're struggling with healthcare costs. They're struggling with home ownership costs and housing costs to become
childcare. You got 2 kids. Just I can only imagine you got twins, what that's going to look like when it's time. Well, even probably now, but definitely, once they get a little older.
Yeah, and our state, we're running against Alan Wilson, who's the Republican candidate for governor. He's been in office for 16 years. His family, he and his dad combined, have been in office for 58 years in South Carolina. 58 years of Wilson's. And they haven't done a single thing to make childcare more accessible and affordable, to make healthcare more accessible and affordable. In fact, they did the opposite. They tried to overturn the only piece of legislation that made healthcare more accessible and affordable in my generation. Alan Wilson, in our names, using our tax dollars, tried to file one of the lawsuits to overturn the Affordable Care Act.
Yes.
Affordable Care Act. Alan Wilson tried to get rid of it. And we're sitting here talking about what can we do more on health insurance, and we're running against the guy who tried to make it worse. There's absolutely nothing that makes me think that years 59 through 62 of Wilson's running this state is going to be any different than the first 58 years. So that's the old South Carolina we're running against. And the new South Carolina we're running for is better wages, more affordable structural costs of living. I mean, I agree. Like, I get frustrated with prices of groceries and gas. What's breaking the back of South Carolina families is these multi-hundred and multi-thousand-dollar bills that they're wrongfully getting from their insurance companies, that they're having to pay for childcare, that they're having to pay for insurance premiums, they're having to pay for rent and the skyrocketing cost of buying a house. Those are structural costs. And your point about wanting structural change and bigger and bolder change, that's a real thing. And our state government just has never prioritized those issues. And that's what the new South Carolina is.
So just talk about day one. I know there's a to-do list. If you want, let's do day one. What's on that day one to-do list for the Johnson Skardon administration? And I'm sure you've got some 90-day or 100-day targets, but let's start with that day one to-do list.
Yeah, I won't give you the whole affordability spiel again, but I mean, it's got to be started working on our economy. I mean, again, that's on the wages side, that's on the cost side. It's also on the access to capital side. What I've done with my business degree since I moved back home has been work for community loan funds that try to get capital into the corners of our communities that banks don't typically lend to. So I spent years financing women, minority, and veteran-owned small businesses who couldn't get a bank loan just because they didn't have the personal wealth or the credit worthiness, but they did have the know-how to run a business. They just needed someone to be willing to take a chance on them. That's getting capital into the corners of our communities that need it most and allow people to actually build wealth in South Carolina. I do the same thing now for clean energy projects. I've done it for affordable housing developments. So expanding access to capital for the people and projects that are extremely important to our communities, controlling costs, getting wages up. That's the economic side of the first 100 days. And then there's got to be an education side. Our schools are bottom 10 in the country. Pick your metric, we're somewhere between 40th and 45th in just about everything. It's our public education system is structurally broken in this state. And frankly, it's a 19th century public education system. There's no amount of band-aids and quick fixes that can make it a 21st century. We got to skip the whole 20th century. We didn't do anything to make it structurally better. In fact, we did a lot of things to make it structurally worse. So what we need to do is reinvent a public education system for the 21st century. And that means big, bold ideas, things like more school days, longer school days, younger school days to get kids started younger. Critical changes that get us off the bottom once and for all, because we've been there my whole life and it's just unacceptable. I got to tell you, sorry, I'll do one more hit on the old South Carolina because it's unbelievable.
No, not at all. Listen, man, listen.
I'm going to quiz you.
Take as much time as you want, man.
Yeah. Alan Wilson put out his public education plan a couple weeks ago. What do you think the first policy proposal in it was?
Banning books.
Well, no, that's a good guess, but it was something else. What's your next guess?
Oh, probably. And I had this conversation with one of my guests, taking public school money and giving it to private schools for vouchers.
There you go. You know how I knew you would know that? That's the same thing they ran on 4 years ago. It's the same thing they ran on 8 years ago. It's the same thing they ran on 12 years ago. It's the same thing they ran on 16 years ago. It's the same thing they ran on 20 years ago. I can keep going because they've been running this state single-handedly for 24 years. They're running on the same thing every time. So either they can't deliver on it or it doesn't work. And by the way, let's just think about the policy to begin with. Their number one pillar of their education plan is to pay you to not go to the schools that they've built. These are their schools. They've been in charge for 24 years. And the best they got is sending checks around to well-off families in the state saying, we're going to make it easier for you to not go to these things because we're giving up on this. So yeah, that's old South Carolina. I mean, it's the same ideas from the same people. Wilson family in power for 58 years. Same ideas from the same people that haven't worked and they haven't been able to deliver on them. It's time for something new. It's time for a new South Carolina. It's time for people who actually want to build a public education system that works for the 21st century. And they don't want to do that. In fact, they just want to pay you to get out of it.
Sam, you mentioned clean energy. That was someplace else I was going to go. The issues and just the problem with these data centers that's running up people's energy bills and water bills and messing up the water tables, and then not to mention the noise and only God knows what other hazards that's coming from these data centers, especially that they're targeting like rural areas and low income areas. So we're looking at basically environmental racism. So I want you to speak on, what are the plans and what are the policies when it comes to data centers here in South Carolina for the Johnson and Skardon administration.
Yeah, I actually think you said something about this in your monologue without even realizing it. Uh, the algorithms.
Yes.
These are the same companies that have lost our trust. They have been mistreating us with their social media algorithms and the damage that social media has done, and fighting every bit of regulation there's ever been on social media, even though they know how harmful and destructive it can be to kids, especially. So the same people that have spent the past couple decades, the same corporations that have spent the past couple decades breaking our trust on some of the most important tools in our lives, now want to come in and put a physical manifestation of that in our communities. I couldn't agree with you more. They have to build trust before we're willing to agree that they have the best intentions here, and that that all the things they promise actually can be delivered on. So Jermaine's, my running mate, Jermaine is a state legislator. He has proposed a set of data center policies. One of them is bring your own energy. You have to contribute to our energy grid if you're going to come here, particularly with clean energy. And the other is we got to stop playing whack-a-mole around the state, doing this town by town, city by city, county by county. Because to your point, it puts these little city and town governments in a bind, because they might not want it, they might say no, but there's a plot of land half a mile up the road that isn't in their municipality that might say yes to it. So, and you never know what. I was out in Hampton County the other day. What Hampton County might say yes to and want, Colleton County might not want, and vice versa. So the state's got to come in and say, until there is a clear set of standards for the whole state of South Carolina, we're going to pause. We're going to put a temporary moratorium on these things until there's a clean and clear set of standards statewide. So these towns and municipalities aren't having to solve it whack-a-mole one at a time. And then even if they do get rid of one, it ends up a mile down the road in a piece of land they didn't control. And then, of course, we have to do something to alleviate the burden on our energy grid. So, they need to support our energy grid as well.
I love it.
That's the basics, and Jermaine's introduced a bill for that in the state legislature.
That's great, right? Don't run up our energy bill. Build your own grid and make sure that you're not polluting the water, and deal with the situation with the water too, because that's a huge problem also. Yeah. So Sam, you mentioned the word trust, one of the many words that's come out of this conversation. So I have a segment on the show where I like to say, all right, we're going to take a trip to the barbershops and the beauty salons. The biggest voting group, as you know very well, you and Dr. Johnson, is, I call it the couch.
Yeah.
The non-voter. And I mentioned especially our Gen Zs, and a significant number of millennials, but really, I guess got a Gen Z in your house, and then you got the Gen Alphas coming up next. There's just a complete lack of trust, and these young people, because I not just my daughter, I talk to her peers, I see them on social media, so many conversations. So I said, we're going to take a trip to the barbershops and beauty salons all across South Carolina, and we'll go in there. And one of the main questions that you'll get, because I know you and Dr. Johnson have got them. Why should I vote? My vote doesn't matter. It doesn't count. They're going to do what they want to do anyway. Both parties is like two wings on the same bird. And how was my life? I was poor. One administration, I was poor with the other one. So, what are you going to do to improve my daily life, and why should I trust you? What's the conversation?
So the first place I'd go with that is talking about issues that matter to people's lives. And that's one thing that makes me so mad when I hear politicians in both parties, frankly, talking about these culture war issues and trying to take on Donald Trump for everything he does, on a reflecting pool or statues and monuments and stuff. Like, I get it. I understand why that's frustrating to people, especially the ones who watch the news all the time. Especially for the people you're describing who aren't watching the news. We need campaigns that talk about issues that matter. That's why when you asked about 100 days, we're talking about our economy. We're talking about the money you make and the costs you incur to live a good life in South Carolina, to be successful in South Carolina. We're talking about the access to capital that you might be able to attain to start a business, to own something, to build wealth in this state. We're talking about the schools that you send your kids to. Are they going to be good and safe schools? And so I think it starts with a just laser-like focus on the issues that matter. And it's easy for Jermaine and I, because we're both young dads. I'm sure he talked about his background a bit last week. He has an incredibly powerful story of overcoming adversity in his life.
He shared it.
What we have in common now is that
he shared it on the show. It is
now
incredible.
Is that we're both young dads. We're both dads of young kids that we send to public schools, and we both come from families that are not exceptionally well off. We have dual incomes. Both our wives are incredible professional women who work hard too. We worry about every time our homeowners insurance premium goes up. We sweat about it. Every bill that comes in the mail, we pray about it. So they're personal issues to us, and I think we can speak about them in an authentic way that South Carolinians will understand. Oh, these guys actually know what it's like. Their dad isn't a congressman. They haven't been in an office for 58 years. These issues are personal to them. The quality of our schools, that's going to be the quality of my kid's education. It's going to be the quality of Dr. Johnson's education. Our ability to control costs in this state is going to affect my family's bottom line. And it's going to depend what we stress about and what we sweat about and what we worry and hope and pray about are the things that we're trying to talk about in this campaign. So I hope we can make those issues real to people. And the fact that, again, this is a next generation ticket. Jermaine's 41 years old. I'm 38. I think people in politics are ready for a next generation of leaders. They want people who are new and fresh and not part of the broken system that has been in this state for decades. And so I think that's what we can offer. And I think the other side is you just can't argue with the bio. You can't argue with the fact that they've been running the state for 58 years. And of course, I wouldn't get off the couch to give them 59 years. but I would get off the couch for something different. And that's what we're trying to be.
I like that. And listen, like you said, Dr. Johnson's 41, you're 38. You guys know what, even though you may not have it now, I mean, you're not too far from student loan debt. You're not too far. You and your wife are blessed, but you guys know what it's like before you were able to get a house and everything. So
it's funny. I made my last student loan payment the month before our boys started daycare. So the exact same amount of money I was sending out the door every month for student loans immediately became a daycare payment. It just switched. July paid off the student loan, and then that exact same amount of money started going out the door to daycare 1 month later.
I don't know a lot of it because a lot of these loans are federal. I don't know how much states can do, but is there any is there any plans? Is there any ideas what the Johnson and Skardon administration can do to kind of lighten the load? I know personally in my house, because we're getting, my daughter she's getting like the mail and the phone calls, and she just really graduated, and it's really overwhelming. And I know there are millions of other young people out there, and also this is a two-part, even though they're kind of on separate tracks. I just want to kind of go back to Representative John Lewis, who you had the honor to work with and be a legislative aide. Of course, Voting Rights and Civil Rights Act was huge. It's such an attack on on our voting rights and civil rights. I want you to speak to that and the plans that the Johnson-Skardon administration has because at least states can do a lot to protect the voting rights and civil rights of their citizens. So I want you to speak to that if you don't mind.
Sure. So your first question is about student loans and higher education in general. There's three things I think states can do. one, we have to make our state universities more affordable. I mean, there need to be more available and bigger scholarships for in-state students to go to our state universities. I mean, that was supposed to be the deal. I was a kid when we did the lottery, promising scholarships for, I think, everyone who had a B average.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what they did with that money? Instead of expanding the education pie with it, what the legislature did was say, well, now that they have that lottery money for schools, we're going to take this money and go do something else. So the pie didn't actually get bigger when they did that. The pie should have gotten bigger, and we need to make it bigger again. So we need to get more kids into South Carolina's very good public universities by expanding the scholarship opportunities there. And one thing I'll be admittedly a little conservative on: we need to control costs at colleges too. I mean, you talk about unsustainably rising costs. I'm a fan of higher education. I think way too often you'll hear some conservative politicians attack costs at colleges because they just don't like colleges. It doesn't have to be because of that. You can want to control the cost of higher education and still want colleges to do well, and you want South Carolina kids to be able to go to great colleges. I want both of those things. We have to control the costs of some of these universities because they are raising tuition at unsustainable rates because they know kids can get loans for it, and they'll just pay it off for another couple of years longer, another couple $100 a month. So I think, I think any loan payment relief also has to be packaged with some college cost reductions because you can't just give loan payment relief because then the colleges know, well, we can keep jacking up tuition because they're going to end up getting payment relief. So you got to pair them together. And then, there's federal student loan interest deductions. There's no reason there couldn't be a state student loan interest deduction or there's all kinds of things we could do through the state tax code to make repaying, if you are a South Carolina public school teacher, we should pay your student loans back for as long as you stay in the classroom in the South Carolina public school. Things like that are, we can make the repayment side, and first responders too, if you want to give your service to the state of South Carolina as a firefighter, police officer, EMT, absolutely. Like we should not, people who give that service to our community shouldn't be struggling with student loan debt. All of the above. Let's make it easier to go to college. Let's make that college not cost as much, and then let's make the debt easier to repay, especially if you're in public service to our state. And then you talk about voting rights. Of course, personal issue for me, having worked for Congressman Lewis and seen literally the scars on his body. He had his skull fractured on the bridge in Selma, and he had a shaved head, so you could see the exact outline of the skull, and you could see the way his skull had healed from that fracture. Every day I worked with him, I saw. All because he was marching for voting rights. So I every day saw these scars of the struggle for voting rights. And I know, obviously, the South Carolina legislature this year came very close to gerrymandering away majority-minority districts just because they didn't this year. In fact, I think this is one of the insidious things about them having not done it this year. They came right up to the edge. They pulled back. They didn't end up doing it because it was too close to when early voting actually started. But that was why they stopped. It wasn't because they didn't want to do it. It wasn't because they weren't going to do it again in the future. Right. It was just because they was too close to voting this time. I guarantee you give them 2027, they're going to try to do it again. And you know who's going to veto it? Governor Johnson.
Right. And I'll say this, Sam, my take was that the people stopped it. Because like that first day turnout, it was like, oh, snap. Because I said it, look, I'm not Nostradamus, but I said you're gonna F around, you're gonna find out you're gonna piss off these black voters. It's gonna be like, okay, maybe I was gonna sit it out. Maybe, I do see him as two wings on the same bird, but one wing is doing something entirely different. So maybe I do need to show up. And in between that and the attack from Miss Yvette, with the attack and called those young students, those really brilliant young people that I'm so proud of at South Carolina State University, the whole thing about a mob and all that. And it really energized. I can just tell you, here, being a black person in South Carolina, it really energized some people who may have been lukewarm or, maybe they would vote, but they weren't going to show up on the first day. But that first day, that first week, it was a big. And I even heard one of the lawmakers on the other side was like, "Oh, wait, don't do this. You might wake them up." Well, it was too late. You did, yeah. You woke them up. So just tread lightly or not. Go ahead, continue to energize people and get them to realize that they need to stand up and they need to show up and show out for themselves and for the people that they love that can't show up for themselves. Sam Skardon, listen, this has been, I've just enjoyed this conversation. I know we've had a chance to meet on several occasions. I was really excited when Dr. Johnson announced that you was going to be his running mate. I thought it was brilliant for a whole lot of different reasons. I did, before you get out of here, we were talking about Congressman John Lewis. This is real, you all. Just for y'all that's looking and listen, you about to find out how real the reverence that Sam has for Representative John Lewis. There was a very, very powerful personal act that I don't know if I don't even know if act is the right word, but there was something you did to honor the representative that I just thought was just so amazing. It can't speak to how much reverence. I can't think of too many other things that any person could do to honor the memory and the reverence and the impact and influence that somebody had on your life, like Congressman Lewis has had on your life. So I want you to speak to that, and it's very close to your family. I'll let you speak to that.
Yeah. Thank you. I think you're referring to the little voices you might hear through the door. Who is one of my 4-year-old twin boys is named Lewis in honor of Congressman John Lewis, and the honor I had of being able to work personally with him. And then to our great surprise, Lewis was a twin. And so we thought we needed an equally powerful name. And the person who John Lewis always said was the unsung hero of the civil rights movement, and who taught him everything he knew about nonviolent protests, civil disobedience, was the Reverend James Lawson.
Yes.
Who is one of the hopefully increasingly well-known leaders of the civil rights movement, but he taught most of the leaders of the civil rights movement the theory and the discipline of nonviolence and peaceful protest and civil disobedience. So we thought if Lewis was going to have a twin, he needed to be equally powerfully named. And because Mr. Lewis would always talk about the importance of Reverend Lawson, we named both our boys Lewis and Lawson.
Well, listen, I just thought that was such an incredible honor. So listen, everybody, campaigns, they need volunteers, they need door knockers, they need canvassers, and campaigns need cash. So Sam, let everybody know how they can support the campaigns, how they can support the Johnson Skardon ticket, and how they can support it with everything from canvassing and volunteering to cash, because like I said, campaigns need cash. So let everybody know where they can learn more about the Johnson Skardon administration and how they can support in any way, given that information.
Johnson4sc.com. The word 4 is spelled out. So Johnson, like Jermaine's last name, the word 4, SC, South Carolina.com. So Johnson4sc.com. And like Geno said, we need your help. Can't do this alone. You talked a lot about the civil rights movement tonight. Mr. Lewis got a lot of notoriety for being at the front of the lines of those marches, but it would not have been a powerful march without hundreds and thousands of people lined up behind him, marching for the same cause and putting their hard work and their being willing to make huge sacrifices for the cause as well. So we hope you'll do that with us. We hope you'll do that with the causes we believe in, and you can get started at Johnson4sc.com.
Sam Skardon, my friend, you have a permanent place. You have a permanent home on this platform anytime you want to come on. I want to thank your lovely wife and yes, your boys for allowing me to take up so much of your time. So I don't want you to get any looks.
And still up. That's dangerous. I gotta go look into what's going on out there.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, just thank your family, thank your wife and the boys for letting me borrow you. Like I said, you have a permanent platform here. Anytime you want to come back on. Once again, listen, this is the future, everybody. South Carolina, we can do this. absolutely, positively. Okay, you can do it. My grandfather said, you can do what you want to do when you want to do it bad enough. And it's time. 57 years? How many years did you say?
58 years.
58 years.
Running South Carolina. Yeah.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing for 58 years and expecting to get a different result in year 59. That's the definition. So listen, we have the power. The people have the power. The powerful are afraid of the people, and they'll try to distract you with all kind of labels. And now, it ain't even about that. It's about humanity. It's about people that see our common humanity. They understand there's a difference between a politician and a public servant. Politicians actually are public servants. Their job is an incredible power that they are vessels in a position, placed in that position by the people. And their job is to make sure that they have policies and they're passing laws to make your life better, not their life better. It's real simple. And they need to be able to see your common humanity, a level of compassion, empathy, decency, and generosity. If not, they're in it for themselves. We see enough of that. So it's time for a change. I agree. Sam Skardon, thank you, my brother. I really appreciate you. We'll see you back soon. Happy anniversary to the Doctors Johnson, Dr. Jermaine, and Dr. Evan Johnson. Happy, what, 14, 18?
I think it's 14.
14. Happy anniversary. And we'll see you soon. Thanks again, Sam.
Thank you for having me, Geno. It's been fun.
Sam Skardon, great guy. That's just really incredible. Listen, this the man you saw, he's a real one, as we say in the culture, a real one. And his level of compassion and caring for everybody, for all of South Carolina, wanting to make everybody's life better. It's just that simple. It's just that plain and simple. And actions speak louder than words. And policy. The policies, the laws that you plan to pass to improve everybody's life is real simple. Thought he did a great job explaining from a policy standpoint and just breaking it down in a way that was easy for everybody to understand. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. As always, God bless each and every one of you, and especially you, God, most of all. Thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Show live Monday through Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 Central Time, 4:30 p.m. on the West Coast. Tomorrow, Dr. Shar, I need to, where's my phone? I don't want to screw up her last name. So I have a guess. So every election is important, and the local elections are, in a way, can be even more important in a different way than your federal elections. Because your local elections, the people that sit in these positions and seats of power, they can really affect your life like up close and personal every day. So tomorrow my guest is going to be Dr. Shar Fitzwater. I didn't want to screw up her last name. So Dr. Fitzwater, she is running for one of the Charleston County School Board seats, District 1. She's going to be my guest tomorrow because we got this MAGA cult that's on the school board that's so busy. They're busy banning books and trying to destroy public schools. Why are you in the seat? Why are you in the seat? We need to get this, the bigotry, the hatred, I'm looking for there's so many words I could use, the animosity or just the lack of regard for public schools. Why would you want to sit on a school board if you have, and your main focus is banning books? Really? And the thing about that, you do understand these young people got devices, they got phones, they got tablets. So everything that you ban, they can pull up in about a second and a half, 1.5 seconds, and it's pulled up. So what are we really doing? And what are you afraid of? Why are you afraid, Moms for Liberty? Why are you afraid of all South Carolina students? Why are you afraid of the truth? The truth will set all of us free, and it's about time. The lies, the racism, the misogyny, the sexism, just the fear and bigotry and hate, homophobia, Islamophobia, every form of bigotry and hate and racism and misogyny and sexism, it only benefits a small handful of people. It's big business to pit people against each other. When these people in power don't give a shit about none of us. If you're not a billionaire, they don't give a shit about none of us. And these Mom for Liberty candidates, they're being financed by these billionaires to do the bidding of these billionaires who don't give a damn about you or your kids or public schools and none of that. If they're not making money off of it, they don't give a damn about you or me or our families. We'll see you. And shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. I didn't get a chance to say. Just got some folks jumping in there. So I want to thank everybody that had the conversation. We'll see you live Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 Central Time, 4:30 p.m. on the West Coast. I'll holler.
When Geraldine and I tell our girls about growing up in the 80s and 90s, it's like talking about a whole different planet.
We used to play outside till the street lights came on.
We drank straight out of the water hose, ran everywhere, explored, got lost, got hurt, busted our knees, our heads, and our butts. Nobody knew where we were, what we were doing, or who we were with.
I'm Chris Jones. I'm a rocket scientist, a minister, and a girl dad. And I have a theory about why childhood and everything else feels different now. Because gravity hasn't changed, but the price of a trip to the hospital has.
Blue jeans, Jordans, gas, groceries, and health insurance.
Everything is more expensive, and it's scaring us out of risk, innovation, and the joy of life itself. It was more affordable to fall, to fail, to get back up. And our parents trusted America enough to let us run free.
Bankruptcy was for gamblers and crooked real estate developers.
Not middle-class families, not teachers, not cancer patients.
I'm running for Congress because the fall of the American working class wasn't an accident. It was a political decision. Meet my congressman, French Hill, the most powerful banker in America.
He's my opponent, but he's your problem too. He chairs the Financial Services Committee and fights anything that looks like consumer protection. The law to limit overdraft fees to $5.
This is a change that could save American households $5 billion in overdraft charges every year.
French Hill killed it. Yep, they even found a way to make being broke more expensive.
If there's anybody who's got to go, it's him. I'm blessed. I studied hard, earned 2 degrees from Morehouse College, then 2 masters and a PhD from MIT. I married my best friend, who's a combat veteran and an ER doctor. God gave us 3 beautiful daughters, and along that journey, I earned the votes of 319,000 Arkansans who believe we deserve better. I have good news for you. You can still go outside till the street lights come on. We call it organizing. Just you and a few friends fighting for your freedom, standing up for each other. We have 12 months to win this election.
We have a poll that makes this a 1-point race and a grassroots organization that has been growing for 3.5 years.
This district is full of fighters. We're doing the hard work, and we need you to join us.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of The Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.